topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Chicago, Illinois. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Really excited about this morning's show, actually both shows, but our first show just started with us, and we got more text messages just congratulating us on offering a show like this. And I think one of the greatest letters we got was someone who doesn't have a tax problem, but after watching the show is going to do everything they can to make sure they never have a tax problem, but they are going to tell several friends. I thought that was a great letter, but let me introduce you to, we were so lucky to find one of the greatest tax attorneys. And it was so easy doing his show. Let me introduce you to our expert, Kevin Benjamin. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Steve. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Doing well. God, you know what? I was just telling our audience about a text we received thanking us for offering a show like this, and it's telling him he never wants to get into a situation with the IRS. But that's why you are so important, because if somebody does,
right,
they want to make sure that they have someone who's very competent. And boy, that is just your firm. Tell everybody about yourself and your firm.
Okay, thank you, Steve. I'm Kevin Benjamin. I'm an attorney, and we concentrate on tax law. And the background basically started out in consumer law, bankruptcy, and assisting a lot of people and companies with IRS tax obligations. In bankruptcy, a lot of people think it's not dischargeable. Sometimes it is. A lot of people then sometimes have non-dischargeable tax debt, and we started helping people just directly with the IRS, because handling someone's bankruptcy and handling someone's tax, it's very similar. It's an analysis of cash flows, what's coming in, what's coming out, your assets, what can you afford to pay over a certain amount of time, and negotiating with the IRS on expenses and stuff like that. So it's very similar work. So we wound up getting so into it that we started a whole new business, Noble Tax Relief. It just concentrates on individual and companies who owe money to the IRS. It's IRS representation, tax resolution, and that's all that side of the business does. And obviously, we are tax lawyers. We could help people represent people before the tax court, tax appeals, the whole process where a lot of other non-lawyers, cannot do this. To represent somebody before the IRS, you have to be a CPA or what's called an enrolled agent or an attorney. The enrolled agents and CPAs can't do the full thing that we could do with the tax court and all that kind of stuff. Plus, if you need to discharge it in bankruptcy, we can handle that for you. So we analyze all your options. It's a full service. We will file our power of attorney or authorization with the IRS, get them off your back. We'll be your point of contact. We are your voice to the IRS. And that's how I started, and that's what the firm does.
Kevin, and I know you talk to people who come to see you or call you on the phone because you can do this through Zoom. But it is such pressure being released from them when they have someone like you representing them, and they don't have to talk to the IRS anymore. The IRS has to go through you. What a a heavy burden off of someone's shoulder.
That's a big thing. We hear that all the time from clients. I think it's public speaking and talking to the IRS, or death. Maybe, I'm not sure the order of that. Nobody wants to talk to the IRS. And actually, you shouldn't be talking to the IRS. It's like being a lawyer. When you're in law school, the first thing they taught you is a lawyer who represents themselves as a fool for a client. So you don't want to be talking to the IRS. They're not your friend. You don't know that they're asking you a little simple question, why they're asking you, what kind of effect it's going to have. Are they going to lien you, levy you? What's going on? So you need representation, that's for sure. You need someone who concentrates on the business and who's qualified and able to represent people before the IRS, which a lot of people cannot do. But yes, the first thing we do is we can send an authorization or a power of attorney to the IRS. We are now, you just got to fax it in. We are now your representative. They will talk to us. They're off your back. And we are your go-between, your voice to the IRS. And a lot of people take a big sigh of relief just from that. And that's how it gets started.
Kevin, I didn't talk to you about this our last show, but I have probably talked to 4 or 5 friends of mine who ended up using, and it was to save money, the Quicken. And they said that was the biggest mistake that they ever made. And no wonder it's so cheap, when they should have gone to an attorney like yourself.
That's a great point. That's very common. I mean, people are kind of short-sighted when they talk to business. I mean, even as a lawyer, people call, hey, how much is your, I don't even know what we're doing yet. Now there are people who just put your price and take your money, but that's not what we do. So a lot of people are just price shopping, and they think it's like you're saving money, but you're not. Like in the old days, my original partner was a personal injury attorney, and we would get people coming in the office, and it's like, oh, well, this guy's 30% contingency, and you're at 33. Is it cheaper? Depends what you settle for. If I settle your case, I mean, if you're doing an injury case and you settle a case for $100,000 and you're getting 30%, it's one thing. But if the other guy gets 25%, but it only settles for 50, who's better off? I'm saying. So it's what are you accomplishing? You get what you pay for. We offer, it's work. It's obviously, if you need us, there's probably IRS issues, obviously, and it's not free, of course. It's a fair price. We're not trying to be the cheapest person. We're not trying to, do volume and just start, undercutting people. It's a lot of labor-intensive work, and we're a small boutique-style firm. You're going to deal with me, or one of my partners. I mean, you may have some assistance as part of the team, but I will be the one signing your power of attorney. I'll be the one talking to you. You can meet with me in person in the office. We could do Zoom, phone, whatever you need to do, but you're going to have a professional on your case who's knowing about the case. I may have people helping me, but I'm your point of contact. My office is a point of contact, but you can always talk to me by in person or phone or meeting. And I'm handling the case, or one of my tax lawyer partners, but probably me. So that's the big difference between these national companies who are pounding the TVs and radio waves and just call me. You're going to get a call center, just trying to get your credit card, your information. You're talking to a non-professional, a non-lawyer, probably a non-CPA, a non-enrolled agent, someone just trying to sign you up. And they're going to tell you, oh, yeah, offer and compromise, here's the price. How do you know you've been qualified for that? Or there's different kinds of offer and compromises. Is it doubt the liability, doubt the collectability? What's the dollar amount? Do we need the financials? Do we not need financials? How does it interplay with an installment agreement? What's the IRS looking at? So the first thing we do is we'll get your tax transcript. We'll do a power of attorney, get them off your back, get a tax transcript, analyze the whole case. Our background's in law, discovery, what I'm saying? representing people, litigation, right? So what does the other side know? What does the IRS know? Let's get all the information. Going to do a detailed interview with you. What's the information? What's the game plan? What's plan A, plan B, sub 1, sub 2? I'm the quarterback taking you down the field. I got to read the defense, right? And we got to have a plan. You know, if I was doing someone's bankruptcy case, would you do bankruptcy planning? When are we going to file it? What's the plan going to be? IRS representation, it's the same thing. What are we trying to accomplish? What's the best way to get there? And timing. You may have different tax years and different what they call C-sets, collection statute expiration date. So what are those dates? I mean, in other words, if you got a tax liability that's going to expire with the IRS in 2 months, I just want to slow that one down. We'll get you out of it for free. I mean, not for free, but for zero. You know what I'm saying? You know,
right.
So which one are we trying to do first? How are we, you know, what's the game plan? And that's why you have a professional. I mean, it's not a matter of how much, like you mentioned before on the previous question, you know, who's cheaper, who's doing the right job. I mean, if you got someone less expensive, but they didn't know the collection statute expiration date was in 2 months and you had a $40,000 tax liability, and then instead of paying zero on it, you wind up making payments on it, that's a big error. You know, so you get what you pay for, so to speak, but you need professional representation, in my opinion, and it's EA, CPA, or attorney. And I'm not saying I'm the only person who could do this. You know, obviously there's other professionals.
I am.
But we're pretty good at it.
And Kevin, I want to tell people something, because we are in other cities, and I deal with other. Well, I've dealt with some very big companies that handle tax relief, and I got to tell you, Kevin, I had more problems than people calling up and saying they can never get a hold of anybody. I mean,
Right.
that's the experience I have. That's what I love about your firm. They work with you direct, and customer service is very important to you.
Obviously, client service is everything. It's communication. And we're used to this because our background is in consumer law. And just like anyone's, you know, stressed out with the IRS, you know, we have clients that, you know, losing their homes to the sheriff's sale tomorrow. You know, I mean, they're being garnished, or, you know, there's all kinds of stressful situations. So that's my background for over 30 years, is dealing with people's stress, which becomes our stress, but that's what you're paying us for. So that's okay. That's my job. Right. So,
Right.
So that's why, you know, we try to do the more boutique style. It's a smaller firm where you actually can get us. I mean, I'm not saying you call me this second. I mean, right now I'm on the show. I may be
Right,
exactly. I may be in tax work, you know, but you could get me. You know, you'll have direct contact. We could talk to me today if we needed to. We may just schedule the call, you know, or the appointment, whatever you need to do. Or we have a system also where you could text and secure message in a portal. So sometimes, not every issue is an emergency, though. Sometimes it feels that way to the client, but sometimes they just have a question, and a lot of clients just, you know, send a message, and they know that we're going to respond like that day, and they just do it that way. And then if we need to talk, you know, we'll schedule a call and talk about it and tell them what we're doing and handling it. You know, like, for example, you get a notice or a letter. You don't just call us, tell us you got a notice or a letter. I mean, give it to us. You know, so I can look at it. Then I'll talk to you, because we have a lot of clients call and say, I got this letter. What does it say? I don't know. You didn't, you know, show it to me. So, but yeah, I mean, customer service, client services, obviously.
Let me give everybody, while we're doing this, give everybody your phone number. It's 312-489-8000. That's 312-489-8000, and you can reach Kevin at that number. Kevin, can you explain the IRS, their automated collection system?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That's a great question. So basically, the IRS's job is to, obviously, the ACS is called Automatic Collection Systems, ACS, right? So you owe money, you get into the ACS, Automatic Collection Systems. Their job basically is to collect money from you, make sure you file the tax returns, see if they're going to leave you things, and start getting things done. So they start sending you a series of letters. Usually it's a CP letter, CP with a number on it, right? And it escalates, right? So the thing is, you're in collection, but you're not really in collection until you get the final letter of notice of intent to levy. That's when you're actually in collection, because you can make payments and work things out with the IRS while you're ACS, but they actually cannot take money from you, put a lien on your house, bank accounts, attack your wages, garnish you until you've gotten the final notice of intent. So a lot of people are confused about that. So now a lot of people actually call and they actually are at that stage. So we want to get the power of attorney, contact the IRS same day if we can. I mean, if you come in at 5 o'clock, you still can, because the IRS actually works later hours. But we may want to request a collection hold for you. So now you've retained us. We've talked to the IRS, request maybe a collection hold for 30 days. And, they only grant some of those a few times, right? But obviously our job is to know, am I even going to request a collection hold, right? Because I got to know what stage you're in, because you may think you're in collections where they could actually check your account, but they may have given you a pre-letter or something like that. But if you're not really in collection where they take your account, I don't want to waste the 30-day card. It's like the football team with the 3 timeouts. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to waste my timeout on you. But that's my job as your professional quarterback, or the coach trying to manage your case. When am I going to use that tool? And if you've used them before, maybe it's somebody else, maybe you're doing it yourself. There's other ways to stop collections. You could do a collection due process, or what's called an equivalent hearing. There's also a situation where you could do a 180-day extension. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we could do in our tool bag. So that's what you're paying me for, to know these things and to stop it. So the ACS is basically the automatic collection system. The key on that is, are you actually in collection where they can actually start taking your things? Otherwise, at a certain stage, it goes to what's called a revenue officer, and there's different levels, and the things start proceeding from there. Now, if you got a final notice of intent to levy, right, or maybe you levied already, then we got to talk about, how do I get your lien off the house if it's on the house or assets, or if it's levy, can we get the stuff back? So obviously, the farther down the road you go, the more you need me, but there's all kinds of situations.
Kevin, how long is it from the time you receive a first letter from the IRS till you get that final notice where they can actually start taking money out of your account? How long a period?
Well, it depends. I mean, like, for example, like during COVID, they were actually stopping the letters. You know what I'm saying? So it was all kinds of different times. The thing is, if you got your letters, a lot of people don't open the mail, but they keep it. Okay, so give it to me, I'll open it for you. Or now that you hired us, you can open it and give me all the letters. I will read them all. And also, are they giving you the proper notice, the proper time, right? And what's the collection statute expiration date? So is the letter even valid, or to the extent that they actually have the right deadlines and stuff like that? So we could identify where you are, okay, and how much time you have. Also, when I pull the tax transcripts, we'll know that's part of what our job is, try to find out what's the IRS about to do. Are you about to get levied, or is there a lien? They're going to start putting a federal tax lien on your property, or is there one already where they're going to start leaving? We could get that information from the IRS as part of our quote unquote discovery, which is really the tax transcript review, knowing what the IRS knows, and have all those questions answered for you, because you don't want to know, what's the magic date they could do it. Are they doing it? I could figure it out when I see your letters. Everyone's a little different situation.
What point is a person actually considered in collections with the IRS?
Okay, to be considered in collection, that would be the final letter, notice of intent to levy. That would be, until you get that letter, you're not in collection, because they can't take. You can pay. They're telling you owe money. That's the other series. You're with the automatic collection system. You're a series of letters. So, and some of those letters look like they can lien you because there's words in there and stuff like that. It's kind of scary. You kind of know what you're doing. But until you get the final notice and the 30-day notice and it expires, and they can't take property from you or can't lien you, you're not actually in collection. So you can always pay before you're in collection, so to speak, quote unquote. But as long as you're safe, we know you're safe, we can start negotiating or reviewing you for the offer and compromise programs or the installment agreement programs or a partial pay installment, or even what they call a CNC, currently not collectible. That's a status with the IRS that can resolve your tax debt. Maybe you're not you qualify for being not collectible. We could tell the IRS, no offer and compromise right now, no installment agreement right now, but I want to say you're currently not collectible status with the IRS to have them come off your back. Now, that's not going to be forever, okay? But it buys you a good amount of time. And then, of course, we would keep reviewing your status. But then once your status is changing, we'll know in advance and we'll be ahead of the game. We're prepared to make an offer or other resolution with the IRS on your situation.
It's real important. We got a couple text messages. If you would like to listen, if you've missed part of today's show, you can always go back. You can go to iHeart, and all you have to do is go to Chicago Tax Relief, and you can pull up, it'll have the date. You can pull up today's show, or you can go to YouTube and watch the show if you missed any portion of it, or if you have a relative that is having an IRS problem. Kevin's number is area code 312-489-8000. And if you're in like the northern part of Illinois, it doesn't matter. Kevin can work. Not only can he work with you anywhere in Illinois, but anywhere in the United States, he can work with you. Kevin, I got to tell you this. I knew this show was going to go by fast, and give everybody your website address.
NobleTaxRelief.com. NOBLE taxrelief.com. Yes, it doesn't have to be Northern Illinois. It could be anywhere in Illinois. It's federal law with the IRS. I'm state licensed in Illinois and Florida. I'm in a lot of federal jurisdictions. I'm in the U.S. Supreme Court qualified. I'm in U.S. Tax Court. We can help people anywhere, but obviously we're based in Chicago, and that's our bread and butter. And we're happy to help, in either by Zoom or in person, however you want to do it. And the first way to start is just call me. We can schedule time, put you on my calendar, do an initial call. If you then want to meet, we can meet. Otherwise, we could do it virtually. No problem. You can even go to the webpage, NobleTaxRelief.com, and put your information in, and we can contact you if that's what you want to do as well. 312-489-8000, or you can email us at info@NobleTaxRelief.com, or just go to the webpage, NobleTaxRelief.com. Happy to hear from you.
Great. Kevin, thanks for being with us today, and we'll see you next time you're on.
Thank you for having me.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
And you're on.
I'm on.
Live.
Okay.
Hey, Steve.
Hi, Dr. Gupta. I think we're on the air.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, the one thing is about, are we okay now, Rebel?
Yes, y'all are.
Okay. So, you know, most people do not know this. This is kind of a backstage thing. Most shows are pre-recorded and you don't have any kind of using any problems. Our show is live. So
Yeah.
any kind of a computer problem we have, it's live on air.
Yeah.
But we are here. I've got smiling Dr. Gupta. This is our Nevada show, and we are talking about mindful weight loss. Dr. Gupta, tell everybody about your practice, which I think is probably one of the most incredible practices I've seen in 12 years on this show.
That's really sweet. So, first of all, I apologize. I think I have a sore throat, but
No.
it's the beginning of winter. You know, I have 4 kids, so it comes at us from every angle. But what we do, our practice called, as you said, mindful weight loss. And it's a combination of evidence-based medicine with coaching, therapy, mindfulness, basically a very comprehensive and holistic program that addresses all of the causes and conditions that are related to weight. We start with the correct understanding, which is the biological understanding, in that this isn't something about willpower or discipline. This is literally a function of our bodies in this world. The fact that there are all of these addictive foods around us every second of the day, and companies working to try to get them into us also every second of the day. So, you know, what we do, that understanding, it like basically really is contrary to the commonly, you know, held view in that, you know, what I call diet culture or the willpower narrative, in that all we got to do is try harder and we got to eat less, move more. All of that stuff clearly does not work because we've been told that for like 70 years. And yet we still have 70% of the population that struggle with weight. You know, doing the same thing over and over and it not working is like, you know, I think it's the definition of insanity, right? So I think that instead, what we do is start with, you know, self-compassion, the practice of self-compassion, which all of us are not used to also because we're so used to the guilt and shame. But using that, you know, I even say like methodology leads us to the fact that there are reasons we do things, there's reasons we don't. And within those reasons are our targets of interventions. So using all that, we've been really successful helping a lot of people achieve their weight loss goals that are actually sustainable because it's not based in misery and suffering.
Dr. Gupta, I think what you have really come up with is a concept that makes this so much easier to do. It takes a lot of the pressure off of you. And it's something that you can do long term. Because most people, by the time they see you, have tried everything.
Oh my gosh, they've tried everything. I've heard of like
all they're coming to you, that means nothing they've done has worked.
Yes, exactly. And that's kind of common, right? Again, with the population of 70% of us struggle with this is clearly all the things that are surrounding us about the lose weight fast, all that stuff. It just does not work.
So you are kind of a last resort.
Yes.
And what's so amazing about what you do is, hey, if you're the last resort, God, we hope this works.
Oh my God,
and I think it's really something.
Yeah.
That is, I remember when I spoke to, I think it was your general manager.
Yeah.
She
Tracy.
actually
Yeah.
came to you as a
Yeah.
patient.
Yeah. She was my patient initially.
And here's the one thing I got out of it. It was so important is she couldn't wait till the next day to continue on with the program.
Yeah.
And not saying, tomorrow I got to eat this or I got to
Yes.
work. That is what's so great about your program. And besides that you're an MD, but the fact is it's tailored to each person individually.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can't, as you said multiple times, you can't really help people with something like this that is connected to everything in their lives without truly getting to know them, right? And it's really a thing of external motivation versus internal motivation. What we do is help people build up internal motivation to do this when so much of the world has beaten that down in people, right? And they think, oh, I should do this. Oh, I've been told to do this, even though they hate it, right? So we always say, like, if something's not working, we throw it out and we try something else.
And the fact we talk about this too, that if you go into a supplement store, and I'm not putting supplements down, but if you go into a supplement store and you go, I want to lose weight, they don't do a history and physical on you.
No.
They don't do a background like you do when they first come to see you.
Yeah.
They just hand you a pill.
So unfortunately, that's more than the supplement stores. A lot of weight loss clinics do that also. They talk to them for 5 minutes. That's it, right? They talk, and like the appointments are so short. Whereas, we talk to, on our first visit, talk to people for an hour. And then with the clinician, it's every half an hour, every month. But then we also have like unlimited contact points with health coaches, either in person or Zoom. Then we also have all these classes that are available. And then we also have like one number, which will say, with that one number is our contact point to the entire clinic. So anytime anyone has any issues, all they have to do is text that number.
One of the things I hope that people will get out of the show also, there's so much bogus advertising out there, Dr. Gupta.
100%.
And they get people's hopes up and think this is going to be the thing that's going to really work. And they're just let down. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's so special about what you do. And, I got to tell people, I hate admitting this. I have had, because of weight issues, so many health problems. So when we talk about weight loss, there's so much more to it. There's the fact that, and Dr. Gupta is an internal medicine doctor. He sees this all the time. Just blood pressure alone from being overweight, what it can do to you.
Yeah, so blood pressure, insulin resistance, which is to diabetes, arthritis. Unfortunately, even we're finding that it's related to several cancers because when we have excess weight, the fat cells produce extra estrogen, or they produce excess insulin-like growth factor, which causes cancers like colon cancer, uterine cancer. There's several cancers that are associated with that. So it's really broad, the health effects, unfortunately, that excess weight can cause.
But you talk, these aren't just minor health issues. Mm-hmm. People can have a heart attack from high blood pressure. You can have a stroke. Yeah. There's so many things that are related. And I have sleep apnea, which is also related to being overweight.
Yeah, exactly. Sleep apnea, which is, it might be helpful to explain to people, but basically when we're awake, we have our trachea, which is our breathing tube. And we have these muscle cells around them. And when we're awake, those muscle cells have muscle tone, they're open. And when you're asleep, that muscle tone decreases. So those your trachea collapses a little bit. If we have excess tissue or other anatomical stuff, it collapses all the way. So your brain throughout the night is constantly waking you up every minute, not to a point where you might not even notice. Right. And often it's the partner we ask, like, does the patient stop breathing at night, And so there's like constantly doing that multiple times a minute. So it's basically cutting off their entire body from oxygen for seconds every minute. right? Which can lead to so many health effects. But it can also lead to having difficulty losing weight. So it's like this circular thing where we have sleep apnea, a lot of times because we struggle with weight, but then also that makes it even harder to lose weight.
Right. We have had so many people who've asked us now about, again, going back to advertisement, about some of the bogus things, lose 30 pounds in a month.
Mm-hmm.
Can you touch on that? I mean, first of all, what does that even do to your health? Can it even be done? Just kind of touch on those for us, Dr. Gupta.
Yeah, so we never do more. Our max is 2 to 3 pounds a week. That's our max, right? Because if you lose too much, you lose a lot of muscle. And we've shown in tons of studies, usually you gain it right back right away. There's also like a lot of those programs might use some diuretics to lose water, or they just like the HCG diet where they put about 500 calories, which is not healthy. And HCG has all these health effects as well. So never advocate any of those. Like 2 pounds is the reasonable like goal a week. We're not always going to get that in our patients, but that's kind of like what we do. If we're not getting that, we try to optimize something to try to get those metrics. But that's like the steady, that's a healthy rate of weight loss.
Hey, Dr. Gupta, what causes, and I think that's so, I guess, the honest way of putting it, if we can lose 2 pounds a week or a pound a week, what happens when you go to doing everything you're supposed to do and nothing happens? And then all of a sudden it kicks back in. What causes that?
I guess you have to tell me like what doing, like I'll have to know what doing everything you're supposed to do means, because there is no supposed to do, right? Like you can't compare it to anybody else in the universe. The whole thing is like, what are we doing? What's our rate of weight loss up to a max of 2 pounds? And what can we optimize to get that, right? So there's multiple ways. I think like taking morality out of all this, because it's like I always tell my patients, you're not a better person for not eating a cookie, right? So there's nothing like, I think too often it's like in those kind of like vectors in our brain, right? Instead, it's more that like, what can we do, right, to optimize things? Not that like you're doing anything wrong. And I tell my patients, everyone's doing like 99%. They're right. We just have to figure out that 1%, whether it's how much we eat, what we eat, sleep, stress, physical activity. We got to figure out what we can optimize to make it keep going.
So, how important is the eating portion of it with your program?
I mean, it's all related, right? Because like, again, I just like want to keep stressing those 5 buckets, because those are kind of the things that are all important. Like not only like how much, but what, right? Like that's another target of intervention. Like, I think if someone's eating like maybe a little biscuit or like 5 like crackers or 10 crackers or something, right? If we optimize that into eating something more like fruits, vegetables, nuts or something like more like that, that's like a target of intervention, right? So that's really important. But so is sleep and stress, right? Those 2 things, with calories, without calories, are another 2 things that we do, right? And physical activity, we don't stress at the beginning, but eventually we really like talk about more resistance training, like building muscle. So all of those things, it's hard to say like what's more important, but like they're all just connected to everything. Because if you're not sleeping, you're not going to want to work out. If you're not sleeping, you're going to want to eat more, right? Because of hunger hormones, because of less executive function, right? So it's all just kind of all connected. And, I think it's the ways that it's framed in like the media and the debate, like, is this important, this important? Instead, we just look at all of it and where are there rooms to intervene, right? Where, like, I had a patient yesterday, like how much she came to me, but how much she's eating was perfect. Like she's not eating a lot, right? And I have a lot of patients like that who are eating like really well, but there's some target of intervention, like what? Like we replace the morning meal with like something, and like, just like the difference between weight loss and not weight loss is razor thin. that's like what I think is the missing piece, like kind of in the debate, right? It just like it comes down to like 100 calories, 150 calories sometimes a day. And the initial thought to that, people are like, oh, that's easy, but that's not true. It's because there's 150 calories around us every second of the day. That's why it's so hard, right? So like and that's why this sucks. That's why I tell all my patients, you got to internalize this sucks and it's unfair, because people are working so hard, and it's just like that one little thing, right? Not that they're doing wrong, but that's like that target that where we can intervene.
I think one of the things that you're doing in your practice that's so important. Can you think about this when your kids are growing up? They're never taught anything at all, nothing.
No.
So if they say when they become an adult, it's even worse.
Yeah.
You actually have a program for kids starting at 12.
Yes. So we have,
and you can actually coach them.
Yes.
But when they do get older, this is not new to them.
Yeah, perfect. So it's mindful, healthy kids, right? Starting from 12 to 17. So I think that's such a brilliant like thought, right? In that like how, you can, it's like how to live in this world is I think the best way to think about it, right? Not that like, oh, you're doing things wrong or like there's a right way to do it. It's just like with that understanding that this is really hard, right? We live in this world of all the stuff around us every second of the day. It's just incredibly hard. The only way to do that is really to like really look with true compassion, true empathy, right? Like, why are we doing things and why are we not, right? Not as an excuse. I never will use the word excuse. Instead, I use the word reasons, right? So if someone is like, they're saying, oh, I'm like, commuting and then I'm like eating like this, or I'm not working out. And that's just an excuse. I said, that's not an excuse. That's like a reason. You have, your energy is sapped, right? The mental load, all this stuff in your head. Like when you switch that perspective a little bit, you can see like, okay, understand you're not going to have the energy to like cook like a 3-course meal right now, right? Just accept that. You have to accept that, right? And then instead, like, okay, why don't we just have bag salads from grocery store or something, right? Something easy that's there, right? That's also healthy, right? Like eating vegetables is amazing with some protein, but it's easy. That's the key point, right? And so like using that perspective to kids too. And I think that's like the way to really frame this, for our kids.
What I think also you're doing is you're taking away the stress,
yes,
which is really important.
100%.
Whether it's a young child or an adult.
Yeah, totally. 100%.
Especially with kids, because there's so much peer pressure for kids in school.
Yes.
And what you're doing is you're getting rid of a lot of the stress. And again, for adults too, on the way that you teach.
Exactly. And for kids, I struggled with weight as a kid. I remember that. And just like the internal feelings that these kids have, the less confidence, the less like just interactions with their peers, just all of it is leading to this epidemic that we already have from like social media of depression and anxiety in this population.
So, mom and dad out there, this is a way to get your kids started on the right step. And, I guess they don't even have to be overweight, do they? Dr. Gupta. I mean, you're teaching them something that's going to help them for the rest of their life.
Yeah. And that's kind of the ultimate direction of the company, right? We're actually working on rebranding as Mindful Wellness, right? Which will have multiple different of these product lines for whoever is what. But the whole point is, like really practicing that self-compassion that leads to true wellness in our lives.
Well, I've just been given a notice. I don't know if you can see it, Dr. Gupta, to stay in the green room after this show. Let's give everybody all the different ways that they can reach you.
Perfect. Okay. So our number is 310-220-4543. Again, 310-220-4543. So this number is for everything when you're before the program, in the program or whatever. And then just go to mindfulweightloss.com. Again, mindfulweightloss.com.
Well, as always, Dr. Gupta, our shows go by so fast. Thank you so much. Hang on the phone, hang on the show, and
Sure.
I will see you again. I don't have my calendar.
I'm sure it'll be soon.
Dr. Gupta, this is Nevada. He's with us every month. Same thing in California. But we'll see you again. Stay right there, Dr. Gupta.
Will do. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.